That has to be one of the most iconic film scores, up there with Star Wars, The Godfather.
Well, the
Psycho.
little that is.
Yeah.
But if you listen to it closely, it's just mixing Jaws and Psycho's theme together.
Yeah.
I mean, so
Yeah,
we're just ripping off everybody.
Yeah, of course.
Hi, everybody. It is That Movie Show. Mike Wendt, Liam Stryker, Bill Neville behind the board. And we are covering Friday the 13th, the very first of our Halloween episodes this October.
Yep. It is, as my friend says, Shocktober.
Oh, wow. Shocktober?
Yeah.
Not Rocktober?
No.
Not Jocktober?
No, Shocktober.
Shocktober. Well, fair enough. We are covering Friday the 13th. It was released back at May 9th, 1980. Had a very modest budget of $550,000. Theater box office of $59.8 million.
That's insanity.
Yes. It has gone on not only to spawn 11 other movies and have over $1 billion franchise. So right off the bat, horror movies make money.
Yeah, low-budget horror movies definitely make a ton of money. They're quick, they're dirty, they're easy to make, and they have potential because much unlike Christmas movies,
Right.
People get into the horror movie spirit.
Right.
You know?
And yeah, I mean, you can watch a horror movie anytime. It's not like, oh, well, this feels out of place in July. I can be scared anytime.
I can be scared anytime.
I mean, it's more fun in October.
It is more fun in October, but you're absolutely right. It has year-long staying power as opposed to like a month and a half staying power. And
so let's see. Friday the 13th was written by Victor Miller, produced and directed by Sean S. Cunningham, starred Betsy Palmer, Adrienne King, and of course, a little-known Kevin Bacon. He'd only done Animal House.
that Kevin Bacon.
Basically,
he would go on to save the town of Footloose.
He would. And the cast was honestly made up of mostly New York theater actors.
Yeah.
And once you have that in your mind and you watch it back, the deaths get very dramatic.
Oh, yeah.
There's one that's just so... One of the girls gets... And I loved it because they used the killer cam.
Yeah, that was the funniest part about
POV.
this movie. You know, because... And I mentioned this before we started doing this show, but... Watching this movie again, I mean, obviously, if you watched it in 1980, you had no idea what this would become.
Right.
But sitting here with hindsight, it's such a weird, disjointed movie from the rest of them.
Well, yeah, it is. I mean, first of all, because spoiler alert on a 1980 movie. Jason's not the killer.
He's not. He's like not even in this.
He's barely. He shows up as like the last Wahoo.
Yeah, but it's not real. Maybe?
Or is it?
Well, I guess it would have to be, seeing that the adult version shows up next time.
Or is it? Because the adult version just shows up every sequel.
Yeah.
And the adult version dies at the end of every movie.
Yeah.
Or does he?
But yeah, the killer cam, it was hilarious the first time I ever watched it.
So basically, and this goes back to a lot of the things Victor Miller has said in interviews, that basically Halloween came out in 1978.
Yes.
And Sean S. Cunningham, who at the time had really only done Last House on the Left, which was, he produced it, Wes Craven directed it. Before that, it was just really porn. Him and Wes Craven did a porn movie called Together in 1971, starring Marilyn Chambers.
Very fun.
But at the time in New York City, that was kind of the big thing. Real porn, not just not what you all would think is porn now, but back then it was actually films.
Yeah,
with storylines.
Yeah, they just happen to have sex in it.
It was art with penises going in vaginas.
Yeah.
So they did Last House on the Left. That was a very huge cult hit. And then
also kind of a porn.
It was gross. Okay, so and that's something that I was going to get into with this movie. Last House on the Left and Friday the 13th have two different types of nudity.
Yeah.
Friday the 13th is very happy nudity.
Yeah, yes.
Last House on the Left, very sad nudity.
Yeah.
It's not happy nudity.
No, it's not.
You're not happy when these girls are getting naked because they're getting awful things put inside them and done to them.
Yeah.
It's not a good deal.
No.
But, it is Last House on the Left, and it has a fun score.
It does.
The songs are upbeat.
Yeah, right.
But that's not that House on the Left show. But for Friday the 13th, basically, so Halloween came out in 1978, did huge. It was for a long while, it was the most successful independent film.
Okay.
And basically, Sean Cunningham went to Victor Miller, and he basically said, let's rip off Halloween.
Yeah.
He's like, well, all right, how do you do that? Because at the time, Victor Miller had never written a horror movie before. And he's like, all right, well, I got to figure out how to write a horror movie. So they basically watched Halloween. And if you look at it, it's Halloween. It's all POV shots. They're stalking, teenagers one by one and knocking them off.
Yep.
To a very good score, as you said.
Yeah.
That's all you needed.
No, it was great. The setting was very fun. Because
summer camp.
Yeah, the thing about this is everybody goes to a summer camp and hears like spooky ghost stories around a campfire, and this is the living embodiment of it.
Yes.
It feels like this kicks off the slasher genre, because I don't while Michael Myers ends up getting there, the first movie is not a slasher movie.
No.
Not in the way that this is,
right,
or any of its sequels end up becoming.
Right.
I do think that the POV stuff is very funny, because you don't know who the killer is. The killer is unidentified until the end. So
and more importantly, all the times you do see any parts of the killer, whether it's feet or hands, you believe it's a man.
Right.
Because, well, the actor actually portraying the hands and feet was a man.
Yeah, but yeah, what a twist.
What a twist. But yeah, I would say, and I said this off here, Friday the 13th, one of the most Christian movies ever.
It is, because
don't drink, don't do drugs, and don't have premarital sex, or you will die.
Yeah, or the vengeful mother of a dead child. Will.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Which actually, Betsy Palmer, who plays Mrs. Voorhees, in years has had quite the stance on that.
Yeah.
Because she's not a fan of the storylines given to the sequels, because she was offered many times to come back and reprise Mrs. Voorhees.
Right.
But she said in an interview, the only times they would ask me to do it, I would have like one throwaway line standing over a grave or something like that. And she's like, I'm a fucking actress.
Yeah,
Give me something to do. The only reason she took this role, because she was a reputable theater actor at the time.
Yeah.
She needed a new car.
Oh, so yeah.
So she had 10 days and $1,000 a day.
Yeah.
And that was it. Because she got the script and didn't want to do it. She called it absolute shit.
Yeah. Sometimes that's what
you know,
happens. I need a
10
new car.
10 days, $1,000 a day. Yeah, okay. I'll take it.
I guess I need a new car.
I'll take an easy 10 grand.
Yeah.
Sure. But then once she realized they were bringing Jason back, she's like, no, because she gave her character, as most actors do, she gave her own character a whole backstory.
Right.
Of, the mother's stress, and how every year she has come back and kept this camp from reopening since Jason died.
Right.
Since Jason drowned.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, my son is in the bottom of that lake.
Yeah, right.
He's not going to Manhattan. He's not,
He's
going,
not going
to space, going to hell. He's in the bottom of the fucking lake. He drowned. He didn't grow to become an 8-foot monster.
Yeah, a juggernaut.
Right.
Yeah.
He didn't grow to become a franchise that I probably should have got a hold of.
Yeah. Right. It's really interesting. Because you see the movie starts in 1957.
Yes.
Right? So did he die before 1957, or did he die and then she was like, you idiots were not doing this, and then killed them that year?
I believe he must have died the year of 1957.
Right? Because that's what makes the most sense, right?
Because it would be 1958, 2 camp counselors at Crystal Lake sneak away to have sex and they get murdered.
Right.
So it would have to be 57. He drowned.
Yeah.
I would guess. But yeah, and then we fast forward 27 years later or something like that.
Yeah.
21 years later, and we find Annie hitchhiking on the side of the road.
Right.
She's going to be a counselor.
Yeah.
Gets picked up by an anonymous person.
Yeah. After getting dropped off, like, this other guy is going to give her a ride like halfway there.
Yeah.
And it's like, why wouldn't you just give her the whole ride?
Well, wasn't he a pervert?
Oh, maybe that's what it was.
Didn't she jump out of the car?
No, she jumps out of the car when they missed the turn.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So, yeah.
Yes, maybe he didn't. Maybe he wasn't a pervert.
I think he was
that's the other thing. I watched 12 of these fucking movies in a week.
Well, that's the thing.
There's a lot of blending information in my head.
Well, that's the problem with these, is that they're all so fun that you watch all of them and they all stick together except for Jason X. We put that over there. But aside from that, they all kind of blend together.
Yeah.
Except for the twist at the end of this one and Jason X being in space.
And Freddy.
And Freddy.
Freddy versus Jason.
And Freddy versus Jason.
But yeah, I burned through all 12 movies, so there's a lot going on in the old dude's brain up here.
Yeah.
And but yeah, so another thing I love about, not only this series of movies, but this type of genre in general, the horror movies in general.
Right.
They know, and we've talked about this many times with Adam Sandler coming up.
Right.
They know how to keep a tight 90 minutes.
Oh yeah, those movies tight.
I'm looking at I got the box set. I got 12 movies, but I'm like, you know what? It's not bad because they're all just 90 minutes.
Yeah.
I think one was an hour 40, but it was like an extended cut version.
Yeah, right.
And it's only 10 more minutes. I'm like, okay, I can do that one.
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah,
it's really fun because you watch this movie and you really don't know who the killer is. You also don't know why the person is killing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they don't. It isn't until the twist is revealed that you get the motive. Like you hear the harbinger. The harbinger of death, which is that like drunk guy that like just
you're doomed.
You're doomed.
You're doomed. Oh, when that guy died, I wept.
I know.
I wanted to see him go through all 12 movies, even the remake.
All of them. He should have been in the remake.
He is wonderful.
But you look at it and it's just like, okay, so yeah, this boy died and they're gonna the camp counselors died, so you're all gonna die.
Everybody's gonna die.
But it's just like, what's gonna kill you?
Well, it was funny because when they talk about, because when Annie gets driven into town and she's looking for a ride at that convenience store, we meet the You're Doomed guy the first time.
Yeah.
And they're kind of regaling her on the Camp Blood myths, and it's like one year the lake was poisoned, the water was poisoned.
Yeah.
Another year, it was just like there was always catastrophes.
Right.
It wasn't always like, oh, just people got stabbed to death.
Yeah, this person got a bunch of
like,
axe wounds.
Mrs. Voorhees was like, having the anarchist cookbook, and she's like, okay, page 47, let's do this one today.
Yeah, right.
She was getting creative with her murder.
Yeah, she was trying to not be overt about it. Right? So she was helping with the mythology.
Absolutely.
You don't really meet her early, Mrs. Voorhees.
Not until the last, I think it comes up around like hour 10.
Like
I think she's only in the last 20 minutes of the movie.
Well, and it's nuts because she shows up, she's revealed to be the killer, she dies.
Yeah.
Like all in the span of like 20 minutes.
Yeah, basically.
You know what I mean? Like the last 20 minutes of this movie, you get all of the exposition.
I don't even think Jason is mentioned
until the end.
Until about hour 10. I was looking for the actual time here, but it's about when she shows up around hour 10.
Yeah. She does not. There's no mention of Jason at all.
Nope.
Until like, I don't know if this is true, but it could have been like the monologue of her telling like the story of her boy drowning.
Jason isn't mentioned until the hour and 16-minute mark.
Right.
Of an hour and 30-minute movie.
Yeah. And so it's just like he could have potentially have just been an improvised monologue because he's such a throwaway point in this.
Well, and it's again because I can't imagine these guys were hoping, and Victor Miller and Sean Cunningham have both gone on record as saying they were hoping for like a successful drive-in movie. They weren't expecting a $16 million box office, billion-dollar franchise movie. So Jason was very much just an afterthought. It's like, oh yeah, he's just the reason she's doing this.
Right.
He's not going to be the driving force. Like Sean Cunningham said, he didn't even create the hockey mask.
Right.
I mean,
that doesn't come till 3.
3, and it was 2 crew members that were from Canada that they were looking for. He's like, why does he put a hockey mask on? Like literally that throwaway. Like, okay, cool. And it became iconic.
Yes. Because that's the thing, is that the look of the hockey mask is iconic.
Yeah.
And that's, you hear Friday the 13th and that's the first thing you see.
Sure.
Or the first thing you think of is Jason in the hockey mask. And it's like, this movie, while has some fun kills and kind of fun, it just is.
It is.
It just is. Because everything that is synonymous with this franchise doesn't start till 3.
Right.
It doesn't start till 3. And
I mean, Jason's kind of like in the second one, he's got a pillowcase on his head.
Yeah, he's got a burlap sack.
Basically the Elephant Man.
Right.
Which was actually when Jason does at the end finally pop out of the water, one of Tom Savini, who did all the effects, that was one of his. He's like kind of like an elephant man, kind of.
Yeah.
And again, it's 2018. It's tough to use the word now, but the way he's described in interviews, mongoloid was what he kept saying. He's like, because there was this kid on his street that looked just like that. And he's like, yeah, if we could just kind of make it like that.
Right. Well, because the idea is, and it makes sense, is that the kids were bullying him. So he's got that going for him.
Yeah, I mean, kids are shitty.
Yeah, kids are shitty.
It is what it is.
And then the counselors weren't paying attention
because they were doing the pot.
Because they were doing the pot
and the sex.
and the premarital sex. And then, and so then he just ends up drowning, and it is an accident. But yeah, the mother goes banana.
Oh, she definitely went banana.
Yeah, she went banana and starts murdering everybody. Yeah. Right?
Well, she basically sets out to never let this camp open again. And her way of going about that, instead of, suing the camp because it was, 50 something, let's kill everybody.
Yeah, let's just murder everybody.
Every year Mr. Christie is gonna hire a new bunch of counselors. I'm gonna murder all of them.
Yeah.
Maybe murder Mr. Christie so he stops hiring people.
Yeah, I know. Well, she gets around to that.
She gets there.
She gets there. And it's so funny because it's like...
It took her 20 years to kill the guy that owns the camp.
Yeah, the POV is probably one of the funniest things where it's just like, oh, hey, what are you doing out here?
Yeah.
Oh, no!
Yeah. Oh, so many good POV kills. And again, it gave those actors who, like I mentioned before, were very much New York theater actors, a chance to just really ham it up.
Yeah, they overacted.
The arms flailing back, and it's like, there's no even that's not death.
Yeah,
that's not death. That's Hamlet.
We also don't actually see anybody like die
except for Kevin Bacon.
That
was a good one.
That was a good one.
Yeah, that was one of the more I say fun. It wasn't fun for him to do. So basically, so Savini made a full body cast.
Okay.
And laid that in the bed. Kevin Bacon was underneath the bed, like kneeling under the bed,
right,
with his head through a hole, and they brought the latex up to his neck. And then Savini was under the bed with an arrow, and then one of his assistants had a tube with the blood and a pump. So when the arrow went through, they pump the blood.
Right.
So the arrow goes through, they start pumping the blood, the pump breaks. So to not fuck up the shot, because it was such a complicated thing and everybody's kind of crammed under a bed,
right,
the assistant pulls the tube out and just starts blowing into it, which it was originally supposed to just kind of seep out, but because he blew into it, it gave it that artery squirt.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, that works. Fuck it, let's just keep that.
Yeah, let's just do it.
But it was one of those things that hiring Tom Savini was probably the best thing this movie could have done. They did it because they basically said, we want the guy who did Dawn of the Dead. And that was Tom Savini, who has gone on to become basically the beacon of horror movie effects.
Yeah.
Pretty much, if you like a horror effect today, you can probably trace it back to Tom Savini.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, Greg Nicotero and The Walking Dead and KMB effects all were students of him.
Yeah, okay.
So it all kind of starts, he's like that guy, and getting him for this. He didn't go back to the sequel, though. That was the funny thing. He went and did The Burning, which was basically a Friday the 13th knockoff.
Okay.
Whereas Friday the 13th was a Halloween knockoff. That was that. And he's like, I probably should have went back to Friday the 13th.
Yeah,
but
probably should have been the visual effects guy.
But for this first one, I mean, the effects were fantastic. And so much so they got an X rating on the first round. Had to cut some stuff for an R. And it actually, what ended up happening was the MPAA actually came back to them after the film was released, when they submitted the second one,
right, and
basically was like, all right, we don't like the fact that we gave you an R rating for that, so you better calm the fuck down in the sequel. Because basically Friday the 13th became the but that.
Yeah, right.
So every time a horror movie or any movie would submit, and they're like, well, you have to trim some stuff. It's but you gave them an R rating. So it became that type of movie for them, that red thumb type of thing.
Right. It's also funny because it's very tame by today's standards.
I mean, even movies in its own franchise.
Right.
I watched, like I said, I went through all of them, and the remake, while it's it's a remake, it's the same basic story. It is what it is. Has some great gore effects in it.
Yeah.
There's a bear trap scene in the opening credits sequence that is just grisly.
Yeah.
It's just grisly. But so I mean, it's not one of those things where it's basically the movies themselves, they all kind of, what I noticed, especially binge watching them all, they all basically follow the same beats.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, we set up who's the counselors.
Yep.
This is Jason.
Yep.
And we're going to knock them off one by one. This is going to be our heroine who's going to save the day. And then we move on to the next movie.
Yeah, and then we move on.
And they really did. I mean, I think they pumped them out almost every year from 80 on. I'll get it exactly in a second. But 9 guys have played Jason over the 12 movies. Kane Hodder is the only one to play Jason more than once. He did it 4 times. He was in Part 7, Part 8, Jason Goes to Hell, and Jason X.
Okay.
And was very vocally pissed off that he didn't get cast as Jason in Freddy vs. Jason.
Yeah.
Because at that point,
I do remember that.
Kane Hodder basically, even to this day, if you go see him at conventions, his whole world is Jason.
Right.
Like, he believes he's Jason.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
He's one of those guys, like, he really owned, and I'll be honest, he was the best Jason.
Right.
You know, he really
because
dove headfirst into the role.
2's forgettable.
Yeah.
2's forgettable. 3 is okay, but you don't really start to get the lore of the character till 5 and 6.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he's not wrong.
And the funny thing is a lot of these guys were asked to come back. So it's like,
yeah, but I could imagine that would suck too.
The guy in 3 was asked to come back for 4, and he's like, no. The guy in 4 was asked to come back, but of course, in retrospect, they're all like, yeah, we probably should have done these movies make fucking bank.
Yeah.
You know, the checks could have cashed themselves at that point.
Right. Well,
but it also, it's one of those things that, as you know, from being on low budget sets, it's not the fun and glamour that people think it is.
No, it's not.
It's sucks.
It's sucky. Well, because the thing that they don't tell you, right, is you're going to have to film this movie in the off season.
It was filmed in New Jersey in the late fall.
Yeah.
And and again, every one of these movies includes a whole bunch of skinny dipping.
Right.
So that's a bunch of naked people jumping in ice cold fucking water.
Right. That's exactly what I was going to bring up. You're not shooting this in July because that camp is open in July.
Right.
And you're not going to build a camp.
Right.
So yeah, you have to work at their schedule. So yeah, it's either going to be early spring or it's going to be late fall. And either one is going to suck.
Yeah.
You know, we shot a horror movie in the middle of January in an abandoned mental hospital.
How was the heating there?
Terrible.
Abandoned.
There was none. All the windows were smashed out. It was New England.
Oh, it looks cool as shit, though.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, the conditions are not great, which is another reason you get a lot of that turnover.
Right.
And then there's some like who was the actress? Let me pull her name up. Adrienne King, who played Alice. She was the lone survivor in the first one. And she has said many times, because there's a lot of misinformation on the internet. Shocker.
Oh.
You know,
Wait.
Spoiler alert. The internet lies sometimes.
It's crazy.
But again, who's to believe what story? Her story is that basically after the first one came out, she had a stalker.
Okay.
A legit stalker before stalkers were taken serious because there was no social media or any of that shit. So it was what it was. So she was being mentally tormented, and basically her agent brought the sequel to her.
Okay.
And she's like, I'll do anything, because a movie set sounds pretty fucking safe at that point,
right,
as opposed to your own home where there's someone, you know, threatening you left, right, and center.
Right.
So she's like, I'll fucking do anything to work. You know, let's do this. And the story goes that the production couldn't come to terms with her agent on a financial thing. And she's like, yeah, the first I heard about that was when I was doing an interview after the movie, because she was killed off in the first 10 minutes. She did like a day on the shoot. But she was originally supposed to be the through line of the story and go all the way through.
Right.
Kind of be like the Nancy to Nightmare on Elm Street.
Right.
So that is what it is. But you get a lot of those guys that they come, they go, they come, they go. And again, with these movies, there's so many fucking kills in them. You can't, it's worthless to hire name actors in these
right.
roles.
Well, there's that, and there's all. It's not about like Halloween is about Laurie Strode.
Sure, but Jamie Curtis hadn't done anything.
Right. No.
She was 17 and hadn't done a movie.
Right. Well, I'm not even talking about the name value.
Yeah.
These movies don't rely on that character.
I see what you're saying.
So yeah, it's like, yeah, okay, we can kill Alice. Who cares? That's not why we're here.
Right.
That's not why we're here to see Jason Voorhees. That's why we're here.
Right.
He is the protagonist of this movie.
I mean, it's one of those things. Like, you go to this particular series in general, you go to these movies just to see murder.
Yeah.
That's why there's almost no story.
No.
Oh, so, okay, we're on a cruise ship going to Manhattan. All right, murder. Go, go, murder. Oh, you're going to be the one that gets naked and skinny dips. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah,
now that we get that figured out, let's go murder people.
Yeah, let's go murder people. That's it. Oh, what? You're a psychic? Cool.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, they did try.
They tried.
There was a point around whichever one Corey Feldman was in. I think it was 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Where they were trying to create a story.
Right.
They were like, all right, let's do something with this.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy to just show up at the camp and murder everybody. Big fucking deal. Anybody can do that shit. But it was when they got around to 4 or 5. I'm trying to pull it up in a second here. Yeah, it had to be 4 that Corey Feldman was in. The final chapter, which, again, another trope of these movies. They're always trying to end it. Jason has about 4 finals in his fucking lineage here.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, they were trying to make that effort. Like, all right, we're going to give this kid a story. And for a while, it wasn't played by Corey Feldman, but the Tommy character carried over. He just got older.
Right.
You know, even like I said, they were making these movies, one after the other, year after year. So, but they were fast forwarding the timeline by like 10 years. So the Tommy character carried on through. Jesus, did he get to Jason Goes to Hell?
No.
No, he died in New Blood, I believe.
Right.
Which was 7.
Yeah, because isn't New Blood the one with the girl and her dad?
The girl and her dad.
Or is that a completely different movie?
I mean, that's Nightmare on Elm Street.
She's a psychic. Or is Corey Feldman the only psychic?
No, he's not. No,
Yeah.
no. I do know what you're talking about. I believe that might be New Blood.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
her
8
dad
is Manhattan.
Yeah, 8's Manhattan.
So yeah, it has to be that one.
Because her dad, she like watched her dad die in the water, and their dad helps her.
Yes,
her dad helps her.
And as a young, it was the girl that was in Poltergeist was her as a young child in the pre-credit sequence.
Right.
That's right. And she watched her dad die, and that had a weird ending where her dad came back to life and pulled Jason down. Yeah,
so she like resurrected her father to grab Jason to drag him back to the bottom of the lake.
Okay, now I'm remembering. So that movie was originally, and they couldn't get the rights squared away. It was originally supposed to be Jason versus Carrie. That's what that movie was.
Okay.
So now going back, like, oh, that makes all the fucking sense.
All the sense.
Because she was doing Carrie shit. She was just
she was moving
shit with her mind.
Yeah.
And most of it was done in a very violent way.
Right.
It wasn't like, hey, using the Force to like grab a soda or something.
Right.
No, let's just choke this chick.
Yeah.
It was more Darth Vader than Luke Skywalker side of the Force.
Yeah, it was. It was definitely dark side of the Force.
There you go.
Yeah, and so then it was also very weird in the remake when they basically skip this movie.
I mean, it was that's why it's like, the terminology was a reboot, I guess, than a remake, because they tell the story
in the first
of
like
Mrs.
5
Voorhees
minutes.
and Jason in the pre-credit scene.
Right.
So they're camping by Camp Crystal Lake, which also, it was funny once when I saw, because Michael Bay produced the remake.
Yeah.
And he also produced the Texas Chainsaw remake.
Oh, interesting.
And the funny thing about both those remakes is the opening is a bunch of kids driving somewhere to sell weed.
Yeah.
In Texas Chainsaw, they had the weed on them. In this one, they found the field of weed.
Right.
Which it was growing there. And okay, cool.
Sure.
It was basically like Ted 2.
Yeah.
They just found a field of weed, which apparently they knew existed, and they were going to take all the weed and become drug dealers.
Yeah, because that's how that works.
It just happened to be that weed was growing on Camp Crystal Lake. And
Jason was there.
Of course he was. As you do.
Yeah.
That's where you live.
Yeah, don't smoke pot and have underage sex.
Exactly. Catholics. Jason, a Catholic.
Yeah, good Christian boy.
He really is.
He repents. He repents.
He really is.
Yeah, there's not much left to say about this except for I really wish that the 2009 remake was better so that we could have like rebooted the franchise.
Well, I have an answer for that because it actually this week just there was just a decision made on the lawsuit. They've been trying.
Okay.
Sean Cunningham has been trying to get this going because I mean everybody's getting
right,
whether they work or they don't doesn't really matter. They at least try. So basically, Victor Miller, who wrote it, was trying to retain copyright.
Okay.
And Sean Cunningham, who was the director and producer, was also trying to retain copyright.
Right.
Lawsuit.
Yeah.
So it just came down, and it's wordy, and I've read it like 5 times, and I still don't completely understand it. But what it sounds like is Victor Miller, who wrote the original Friday the 13th, retains the rights to that story.
Okay.
However, that story doesn't contain
Jason
the
Voorhees.
hockey mask wearing murderous monster known as Jason.
Right.
So that side went to Sean Cunningham.
Okay.
So Victor Miller has the right to do what he wants with that story.
Right. So basically, he can remake the story.
And somewhere in there, I believe he also has U.S. rights, but the other production company has international rights. See, this is where it started to get muddy.
Yeah.
Because that part I understood. Okay, you created Friday the 13th. Everybody else created Jason and the lineage and the rest of the franchise. I get that much. Okay, so you just split those two apart.
Right.
It'd be tough because technically the kid in the first one was Jason, but they argued that Jason in the first movie resembles nothing of the murderous hockey mask wearing monster that became Jason.
Because the boy that jumps out of the lake at the end is 12 years old.
Right.
And so it is not the 35-year-old juggernaut wearing a hockey mask in the rest of the movie.
Exactly. And that was their argument. And now the U.S. and international right, that I don't understand, and I don't really get who has this and who has that. But to answer your question, it just came down.
Now, does that also impact the video game?
It's had a lot of impact on the video game, actually.
Okay.
What's going to happen going forward, I don't know, but it has been mentioned a bunch of times that this has impacted a bunch of why the video game was delayed, why this, why there's been all these different things. It's a giant licensing deal, basically. And once you start dealing with a multi-billion-dollar fucking licensing franchise, you're gonna have a lot of lawsuits. So basically, one of the things I'm just seeing on Google here, one of the things that the video game is losing is the downloadable characters.
Oh, okay.
Because of this legal battle. I haven't really clicked on the link, but my guess is you're going to lose downloadable characters that come from that first movie.
Yeah.
Possibly even the potato sack wearing Jason. I'm not 100%. But yeah, it's been a mess. That's why they haven't been continuing the franchise. It really had nothing to do with with the reboot.
Yeah, well, because one of the players you can play.
Because truth be told, the reboot made money.
Yeah,
the reboot made $65 million at the box office. It's technically, as if we're just counting dollars and cents, it's the second highest grossing Friday the 13th movie. Freddy vs. Jason was number 1 with $82.5 million. Then the 2009 reboot. Number 3 was the 1980 original at 40, and for adjusted growth, the reboot comes in at number 5. Okay. So adjusting for 2018, the original is number 1. Freddy vs. Jason, then the 3D Part 3, which I actually tried watching in 3D. Oh, I gave up after 5 minutes.
Yeah,
I have the 3D glasses. The Blu-ray is in 3D, and I'm just like, nope, 2D option. Sorry, I just can't do it. But even that, though, they did a lot of the cheesy, like, 3D tropes of the whole, everything was going straight into camera, which in one of the documentaries, the actors were like, we were all unhappy with our performances because it was so important that we made the 3D thing work
Yeah.
that we were losing concentration on our acting because, like, there's one scene where the guy's doing a yo-yo into camera.
Yeah, and so he's concentrating on the yo-yo.
If you look past the yo-yo at his face, you can see him just sitting there, like, angrily yo-yoing because he's completely lost in just hitting the mark with the yo-yo as opposed to just yo-yoing and acting.
And right.
You know, so everything was so precise on that the character development or whatever you want to call it just really went to the wayside. I also just wasn't a fan of the third one. Even watching it in 2D, I'm like, it's a lesser than.
No, the only part of the third one that matters is the hockey mask. That's
finding the mask, exactly.
That's literally the only part. That's the only reason to wear that. That's why I said, because I think we talked about it at the beginning. The best one's like 4.
Yeah.
The best one is like 4, where it's like, oh, we're finally together.
And that's what, like we said, that's where they kind of try. They start to try to build a story.
Right.
Let's give these things a little bit more story.
Right.
Because I think at that time, and I'm trying to get the years and dates and stuff, but basically what I'm guessing happened, I don't have the dates in front of me. So 84. Okay, yeah. So right around that time when 4 was hitting, Nightmare on Elm Street was coming out.
Right.
And then you had Freddy Krueger.
Right.
And when Freddy Krueger hit the scene, I mean, Jesus, the guy was on MTV, for Christ's sake.
Oh, yeah.
He had his own TV show. He had personality.
Well, he had personality. 2, he had more of a lore, right? Because we never get an explanation. At least maybe I missed it, but we never get an explanation why this juggernaut showed up.
Right.
Like all of a sudden, the Alice is at her house, and then opens up a fridge, sees Pamela Voorhees' head, and then Jason murders her.
Yep.
And it's just like, oh.
As you do.
As you do. and we're off.
And we are off and running. Here is, I mean, with no time jump.
Nope. No time jump.
We don't know what's happening.
Right. There is no, there's no explanation as to, why. Why?
And if he was that full-grown monster, why he wasn't killing people.
Right.
Why it was his mom.
Right. What, did he not actually die?
Were they tag team in the thing? Like, you take a year, I'll take a year. I'm taking a year off going to, Barbados or whatever.
Right. Why are you an undead zombie?
Right.
Why? Whereas, Freddy comes out and it's like, oh, I'm a child molester that was burned to death by the people of this town, and now I'm a nightmare demon that is going to exact my revenge on this town's children.
Makes a hell of a lot more sense.
And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I get what's going on. Or Chucky, who I think comes out around maybe later,
Probably.
88 maybe. But Chucky...
Charles Lee Ray.
Charles Lee Ray. I'm a serial killer, and I use a pagan voodoo spell.
88.
Okay.
So 4 years, yeah. But still.
I'm coming out. I'm going to put my soul in this doll.
I kind of feel it was Freddy Krueger and Nightmare on Elm Street that kind of changed that game where it's like, oh, shit, we got to start adding story to this shit.
Yeah.
Because Wes Craven's doing something different over here.
Right.
He's not just doing POV kills.
Yeah.
He didn't just copy Halloween.
No.
He actually came up with some shit.
Yeah.
And is doing it well.
Because that's the thing is we also get more of the backstory in Halloween.
Yep.
But it kind of goes to Halloween 2 and 3.
Yeah, but I mean, even the backstory we get in Halloween was still the same movie. It's just this POV kills.
Yeah. Right.
He just did it as a kid, grows up, escapes from mental hospital, POV kills.
Yeah.
Wash, rinse, repeat.
Yeah,
it is what it is. But I guess that would bring us to next week.
It does.
While we're talking Halloween.
It does.
Because we are doing Halloween next week.
Yes.
You see, this is a great score.
This is a great score.
This is a fantastic score.
It's also awesome as a techno remix. There's a techno remix version.
Is there
of it
really?
That's fantastic, and I'll pull that up for you off air.
So next week on That Movie Show, we will be covering John Carpenter's classic Halloween. Again, I am going to go through all of them. I actually am going to see the new Halloween on Wednesday.
Okay.
So I will be seeing that. I will have info on that, how that pertains into this series, because apparently it's taking place immediately after the original.
Yeah.
So all the sequels are gone.
Even 2?
Even 2.
That's weird.
They rewound right back to the end of the first one.
Okay.
At least that's what I'm told. I'm going to find out Wednesday.
Yeah, right.
I've been trying. It's one of those movies I've been trying to avoid, reviews and spoilers and I saw the first trailer and I'm like, cool. I don't need to see TV spots. I want to see the movie.
Yeah, I want to see it.
Yep.
Yep.
So that is That Movie Show. Next week, we'll be doing Halloween. Follow us on all social media. Mike Wendt, Liam Stryker, Bill Neville, and be sure to hit the subscribe button on whatever your favorite podcasting app is for New Age Insiders Pop, so you can find That Movie Show every single week. See you then.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.